everybody. Thank you so much for coming in, joining in. Welcome to another exciting episode of the podcast called The Future of Web. So, my name is Alec, and I'm founder of a company called Animal Solution, and we are a Web3 focused design and development agency. So, this podcast, The Future of Web, the idea is again to educate, and bring people who are deeply involved in Web3, be it the founders, investors, creators, developers, designers, community managers, and whatnot, to come and talk of how they are shaping this industry through their product or a service. So, keeping the tradition in mind, we have another exciting guest and a fantastic person on this show today, and he is a true web innovator. With a background spanning both Web 3 and Web 2, he has built and led successful businesses from the ground up. That's where the experience comes in. Managed digital products from concept to launch, and even consulted Fortune 500 companies on their digital transformations. He has got experience across the board, just making sure that I'm heard, and from building value propositions to growing products, acquiring users, and forging partnerships. I'm truly excited, to hear his insights on the exciting world of Web3 and the future of internet. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Ritesh. Hi, Ritesh. Can you hear
Hey,
me?
hey, Alec. Hey, everybody. Great to be here. Alec, thanks for having me over. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's fantastic. Just wanted to make sure. Oh, so we already have about 50, 60 people joined up. I can see on LinkedIn and, so many people. Great. All right. So, Ritesh, so as the tradition, whatever is, whenever I'm, like introducing a guest, whenever you get somebody as accomplished as you, we want to know something about you, which is sort of a secret, but which you can obviously share openly, and you've not shared with anybody else yet. So, can you share something about you?
Yeah, I used to play cricket. I'm a pretty good cricketer. I used to play lower division in Delhi, and then I am from a middle class family from the Three Idiots word, and then my parents wanted me to be an engineer, which is why they locked up my cricketing kit, and here I am.
Okay. Interesting. So they essentially, if you brought up, Three Idiots. So it's funny that you ended up doing going to IIT Delhi, right? If I remember correctly.
Yes, I am an alumnus of IIT Delhi.
Fantastic. So in a way, it worked out. Are you happy?
I would be happier being on the cricket field commentating on the IPL. Yeah,
Ah,
that's my true port of calling.
okay.
I still do play cricket over the weekends. Serious red ball cricket. Yeah, but
Fantastic.
I'm getting a bit too old for that.
Yes. And it's important, that you can keep commenting. So why didn't you start a podcast for commenting on cricket matches while they're going live? I'm sure quite a lot of people, especially Twitch and different other platforms, and I'm sure with your expertise and with your interest, there's going to be quite a following for you.
Excellent idea. I thought fan engagement and building a product on Web3 is more monetizable than doing something on the podcast bit. But I'm going to try that, and I'm not going to give you any credence for the idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
and don't look at me for investor advisory token because you advised on the subject.
No, I'm not looking at anything on that sort. I'm just trying to make sure that somebody.
Yeah.
See, I'm very passionate, right? So it's like it's always happy and nice to see people who are passionate about something, and that is the field that they end up doing something in. It's always different experience.
So I'm like
So
Aditya Rahane. I've always been of a more steady kind, but over the last few months, I'm trying to hit the ball more to the boundary. But I was just kidding, man. I was just pulling your leg. I'm happy to have a
no,
conversation with you.
no, absolutely. So how was your journey? Like, let's try a little bit understand. So, okay, you went to IIT Delhi. That's again, it's a premier institute of the country. And so, how has your journey been before it, while there, and probably after it?
Yes, I was not very studious, but the entire aspect of being an engineer and then a business graduate, I think that is something that I basically covet. Those are the best days of my life, as goes by that song. Made gained friends, and those friendships stay. They still stay after a couple of decades where we are not really together. Um, over my career progression, I was lucky enough to start with the internet reviews. So I
Mm-hmm.
basically started in what was called as business process reengineering (BPR), where
Mm-hmm.
we help companies make sense of their processes, do the processes better, so that they could get their business fundamentals ironed out, do revenue better, have
Uh-huh.
less costs, manage employees better, stuff like that. This was late 99s, early 2000, when the internet wave was taking over, which is where a lot of the BPR process progression moved into as to how you could enable it by technology. So, which is where my journey on the tech side started. It was still the read web, where people could
Mm-hmm.
own a lot of Web one, and then I have helped a lot of people across the globe, big companies, help make sense of their digital strategy. I've helped a lot of people on the SMAC. Um, it was called SMSC, not the derogatory SMAC, Social Media Analytics Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, yeah, worked across the globe, built businesses. A lot of stuff that I've created has multi-million users. I've won a couple of awards at the Mobile World Congress as well.
Fantastic.
Uh, and yeah, the genesis of yeah, the first time I dabbled in blockchain was 2017.
Wow.
From a blockchain tech perspective, fairly fairly good to go. My journey into Web3 started from what we've done on the Web2 side of things. We have helped to build the largest fan engagement platform for football fans, and then
Mm-hmm.
we said, why can't we basically extrapolate the idea and do something around fan engagement Web3, which is why this current trust of mine, which is called Wowtalk, is born. So I'm co-founder and CEO at Wowtalk, which is a fan engagement platform for women entertainment fans. I also help a couple of other enterprises on their imperatives. So, for instance, right now I'm helping somebody build what would be the largest, not the largest, the fastest blockchain ever. So, stuff like that, using whatever I've learned over a period of time to make good in the Web3 arena.
Oh, fantastic. I think that's been a quite a, like you summarized really well, going from one industry to the other. But if you see the common thing, like from my perspective, the common thing is building products, like that's something that is kind of stands out, right? Build products in probably Web 1, Web 2, and now Web 3. And while building your own product, you are helping others as well. That is fantastic. And why not, like you have such a good experience, and then like a star worthy is what I would say, right? But I'm sure it's not been a smooth, like a very very smooth walk all across. It sounds very good, but so what are the challenges that you had to face, and how did you overcome them? Like any two three challenges which primarily stand out in this journey of yours.
So no, not at all. So I don't think it is star worthy at all. You gave that sobriquet, but not really. So I think by nature I'm a very optimistic fellow. Uh, I jump first and look later. So over the last, I have been in the startupish kind of an arena for the last 7 to 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
and this exuberance of mine has not always served me well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was CEO at an edtech startup, and then we built that up from scratch. We were
Mm-hmm.
the largest. We were the largest provisioned edtech platform, edtech and mobile device management platform in the government sector in India, and then COVID hit. So the entire business just nosedived.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, which is when this fan engagement tryst came calling, and we jumped right into it. So one learning for me has been to temper the over exuberance, so to say, and then look at all pros and cons. Do the strength, weakness, opportunity threads, kind of a modeling before you jump into anything. Cross the X's and nick the Y's. That's been one predominant learning. Second predominant learning is that, well, and a lot of times it's not just product building that matters. Yeah, it is more of an ecosystem building that matters more. Yeah. So while you're building the product, you should also build the ecosystem to be able to use the product from the day one of the prototype. You should also be able to build the ecosystem to be able to finance the next journey of the product. Yeah. So a lot of times when we are founders, we and we are passionate about what we are building, we leave the other parts to circumstance. And then when we, for instance, when we build the MVP, is then when we start looking for users, and when we get the users, then we start looking for funding. Yeah, it becomes too cyclical and too long winding. And that is basically my second learning. Yeah. My third learning is that in the startup ecosystem, especially when you're building something new, having a core team is very important. And core team does not mean a set of co-founders. Yeah. Core team also does not mean a set of graduates from tier A colleges. Yeah. It means people who really believe and passionately about the cause, and look at it as not as a job, but as a mission to be accomplished. Because in the startupish kind of an arena, this is not a 9 by 5 circumstance at all. Some weeks are worse than the others, but then more often than not, we're doing 12 by 6 rather than 9 by 5. So yeah, which is why you require a whole bandwagon which is pulling in the same direction.
Yes, I think those are three, crucial learnings what you shared. But something, like what you also mentioned was, like you jump and then you figure out. It's like, the example say first you jump from the mountain and then you grow wings so that you don't get hurt and you land safely, right? I mean, that's a typical entrepreneur's journey, what you mentioned. You just take a jump and then you just do it, right? And I'll find, regarding this jump, I read a quote, a very nice quote yesterday on Instagram. I'll just try and find out if and then probably read it. But that's a fantastic way. And the other, so how did you overcome? So let's say, like you're building this company. Let's talk the current venture, right? You're building fan engagement in Wow Talkies, right? So why did you get into fan engagement? Like fan engagement in India has traditionally been, fans going outside actors or directors' houses, or being you collecting their memorabilia, which is T-shirts and stuff like that. Fan engagement per se, as a concept, it's not what has been in the West, like where they actually pay to collect, cards for their baseball stars and stuff like that, and those are very high value. I mean, in that sense of fan engagement, it's very different, right? So why did you get into fan engagement, and what's your primary market?
So I think I'll start from zero principles, from the basic fundamentals. So if you look at it that way, social penetration across the world is 70%. Yeah, which means that I was reading some statistics the other day. India is the second largest consumer of things on the internet. Yeah. While in terms of paying capacity, we are the 20th. Yeah. So but we're still the 20th, and basically, Wow Talkies is not just an India centered platform, but then the concept is global, worldwide. Worldwide and global are the same, pan global, so to say. While we are the fourth largest, second largest as far as consumption is concerned, and 20th largest as far as monetization. The monetization thing has moved to the 20th over a period of time, as has consumption. So as the internet penetration expands, and the social strata expands as well, we as Indians are very very punctual about value for money, and as long as the proposition is value for money, I'm sure the proposition will take hold. But that's besides the point. That was on your first question as to why we're trying to do it for India. We are trying to do it for India because all of us are fans of some nature or the other. It's also a factor. It's also a factor that the supply and demand on the fan engagement side is not um, is not unpartisan. So look at it this way: when we were doing the largest fan engagement platform of football fans, we were asked by people to do it because they do not like Facebook. I won't name who the customer was, but then because it was a football fan engagement platform, I mean, you can make a guess. It was
Yeah, yeah, primarily been somewhere in Europe, like that.
yeah, it was basically football clubs. The football clubs were like, boss, all the content is ours, but we're not making any revenue out of it, right? So look at
Yeah,
it this way: these are powerful guys. They have all the superstars in the footballing
in the
paraphernalia,
team, exactly.
and they can't figure a way to monetize their fans or make money. So look at it from a fan perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fan will always get the rough end of the stick.
Yeah,
Somebody is popular because of his or her fans,
yeah,
and what the fans are doing is they're lapping it up for free, but not realizing that at the end of the day, but nothing in the world is free, right?
exactly.
The fans' presence is what the fans' presence and the fans' data is what will be monetized for no credibility or monetization capability to the fan itself. So
Yeah.
when the Web3 paradigms came in, and we already knew a lot about blockchain, we thought this is the right way to be able to bring transparency into the entire fan engagement realm,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to basically, in a very trustless manner, and without the intervention of algorithms in between. There's a popular maxim, right? The algorithm give it and the algorithm take it away. Yeah.
Yeah.
God knows as to what the algorithms do, right? Can you, for example, say, Alec, that your certain post on LinkedIn and Twitter will hit 5,000 followers in day one and hit 10,000 in day two? It's
Nobody knows. No,
it's a matter of
it's a guess.
circumstance, not of chance. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we've been doing this game for a long time, but we have absolutely no clue.
absolutely.
So why couldn't we do something that was on the chain, which was led by fans in a community-oriented manner,
Mm-hmm.
and which by themselves, by fans engaging with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and not just from a centralized celebrity down perspective, be able to create content, monetize content, and at the same time build fan communities which are not centered on um, any celebrity being a part of the community. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is what the basic premise was. Um, by the fans, for the fans, um, incubated by the fans. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's I mean, short question, long answer. But yeah,
No.
why which is why we thought this is something that should be tackled because the market is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Over a period of time, it's been disenfranchised. It has not been disenfranchised. The third, the supply and the demand equations don't match. Fourth, it is a difficult task to do.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that is population scale, where you are trying to do something and change behavior of people who are already used to doing things in a certain manner, will take a bigger scalp of time. So
Yeah.
it's more difficult, but I think the fruit at the end of the day is bigger, higher, larger.
Oh, absolutely. So I think again, in that the time, obviously it takes time for people to, like you said, to change habits, right? So if we take a classic example of people doing online transactions using Paytm, like the amount of time that it took for people to get used to Paytm, and then UPI came in and stuff like that. Though, but Paytm kind of brought the revolution in switching habits, from people paying from cash, especially here in India, and then you like so even for us, for a how do you if you have to buy chewing gum, you end up paying through UPI because hardly anybody is carrying cash. And I mean, you won't believe it, like it took me 15-20 minutes today morning to search for my wallet. Where did I keep it? I was just trying to look for it where because hardly use it, right? I was actually looking for it, but it was important because you have all these the driving license and all these other documents. But yeah, but
Also
that's what
sometimes
you're
what
trying to
happens
do.
is, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go
Also
ahead, go ahead,
sometimes
go ahead.
what happens is that the inflection point is circumstantial. So
Yes.
Paytm, PhonePe, BharatPay wouldn't have been what they are if not for COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were doing pretty good as a concept, right? But sometimes what is required is um, just that little leap, which sometimes is provided entirely as a matter of circumstance.
Yeah,
But
that was entirely circumstantial. That COVID hit and everybody had to take everything. Like suddenly move everything to online, and for that matter, like coming to technology, in the industry that we are building in, right? So metaverse is one such byproduct of people wanting, going beyond the standard Zooms and Google Meets and having a different sort of an experience, right? And now, like with big brands coming into the picture, it's doing really well, right? So cool. So now let's get back to the core topic. Like how does fan engagement really works in Web3? And we have a comment from, let me just show it here. So Chris says that super interesting conversation. Thank you, Chris, for coming out and supporting. Go ahead, Ritesh.
so, what was the question again?
The question
How does it
was
work?
so how does fan engagement really work in Web3?
How does it work in Web3? So essentially, pretty simple. What we do is we allow fans of any community, fans of any ilk, to create or join fan communities, and invite other fans of the same ilk. And as part of engaging on the community with the community and with other fans is in a engage to earn model. Fans progress up a fan to superfan leaderboard, and the more they progress up a fan to superfan leaderboard is where monetization avenues open up for the fans. And the more they're able to use those monetization avenues is how their journey on the fan to superfan leaderboard accelerates. Pretty simple that way. There are three pillars to the entire puzzle. One is the community-led networks. So a lot of as I said, the more the merrier. So network effects come into being there. The second is what we called as the content pillar, where we allow content to be monetized, content to be created, and we also give leads and how should I put it, leads and hints on what content is doing well and what content is not doing well. We also do a lot of AI and AR. We call it become the celebrity, be the celebrity. So essentially, using AI, I could be James Bond in that iconic James Bond entry scene where he walks in his tuxedo and does the shoot. Do you remember? I mean, iconic titular scene for every James Bond movie. So I could be
Yes,
Daniel
yes,
Craig.
yes. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, I could be Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 6 jumping off the Swiss Alps into the damn train. As long as the intellectual property is licensable, is when we can do these AI experiences. We also do a lot of augmented reality. For example, I could be doing this conversation with Tom Cruise sitting on the sofa behind me, stuff like that, right? The AI AR uh, metamorphosis is what we've tied in as part of the fan engagement ladder itself. Yeah, so we've built that equation so that immersive experiences such as AI and AR can be a part of the fan progression journey as well. And then we are also allowing, as fans move up a fan leaderboard, for them to basically suggest and create their own AI AR experiences that people like you and me can use. We also do a lot of renting and lending. Imagine that, for example, if I had the rights to that James Bond iconic scene, and I'd
Yeah.
purchase it somewhere. So then, in which case, I could rent it out to you and everybody on the podcast right now, and everybody could become James Bond. And as part of that, the NFT does well. I do well because I own it and I'm renting it out, and the fans get to be James Bond. So it works well for all sides of the equation. So yeah, three parts. Long story short, this is how the theory is supposed to work.
Oh, absolutely. And because especially with Web3, the concept of community build-up, community-driven
Right.
projects, community-driven content, and a lot of stuff. Like now in community-driven businesses, in the form of DAO, are also kind of taking shape, right? So it's a very good way of as a concept note, right? But how, in your experience, like while building Wow Talk, has community been uh, which you've been actually able to monetize, beyond just the, like free events, parties, and stuff like that. Beyond where, I mean, has it added any value to Wow
So
Talkies as a
we are
brand?
the early stages of monetization.
Yeah,
I mean, as builders and founders, so we come from the Web 2 world. So we look at the Web 3 equation from a perspective of, well, that it's a new way of doing things, but the same fundamentals matter. Yeah. So essentially, the metrics that matter to us when we are building this essentially is user acquisition, user retention, user engagement. Yeah. So we basically look at acquisition, retention rates after day one, day 7, day 30 with a hard glass. With a magnifying glass, not a hard glass, with a magnifying glass. We look at DAU and MAU. Um, we look at cohort analysis to figure as to which cohort is doing and using the platform in what manner, and can we basically do something as far as the new use case is concerned, or a different way of running the product loop, um, or a different way of basically um, having having new and related use cases, and is there nicks and knacks that we can try there, not simple things as in how can we make the user experience better, can the sign up form be a little less difficult to fill,
yeah.
how
Simplified,
can yeah
can be
how can
simplified.
yeah how can referral campaigns work better, and then we do a lot of A/B testing, yeah, to figure, well, this is what we tried to do, is it working better than, so we I mean, a lot of it is ideal state analysis. Let me let not anybody hear that we do it all the time, but we at least we try to do. So we try and work out as in, hey, if we need to increase the retention for this cohort, these are 2 or 3 ways that we can do it, and then we A/B test it using a certain paradigm, certain use case for week one, and certain paradigm, certain use case for week two, and so on. Yeah. Which is why um, it's been a longer journey for us. We started building during when the market was so-called bearish. So we had to conserve as much bandwidth as we could to be able to extend the runway. We have not been able to acquire users by throwing USDTs or airdrops. We've not done that. We also feel that, well, till we are able to get an amount of product market fit, even if we were to throw is not the right word. Even if we were to offer a lot of incentivizations which are currency nosed and currency nosed, if there is not that initial product market fit, people will use those incentives and will just go out. So those incentives will go waste. Yeah. Which is why it's been a slower and steadier journey for us. But then our metrics look good. Yeah, as far retention, engagement, etc. are concerned.
Fantastic. So as they say, I'll complete the quote, like slow and steady wins the race, you know. And you see, like especially in Web3, we had so many, especially from the I mean, the investment platforms, they were like FTX and all. So they rose pretty quickly and they went down pretty quickly as well, And then, I mean, those projects were primarily the torch bearers of the industry, right? And people started associating Web3 as a whole bunch of technologies put together, only equal to cryptocurrencies, right? Obviously, we're not going there right now, but I'm just saying, like from an understanding point of view, now that the fluff or the chaff has kind of moved out, a lot of actual use cases of building on blockchain, like NFT is one you are building, right? And some we are building, for our customers, and several other use cases are coming up pretty strong, right? And we have, on that note, I'll share this comment we have by Shubhada Pandey. She's saying, enjoying the conversation of the new use case. Thanks, Alec, for inviting Ritesh, sir. Well, so that's kind of directed to you. Thank you, Shubhada, for coming in and engaging with us, right? So, but now that the bull run, like so-called bull run is going on, people think that, everything is, I mean, every now and then again, the airdrops are back, the retail investors are coming back. Again, for the viewers, this is not an investment advice. We're just talking about the text and the current scenarios, right? So all this is happening. How do you see particularly fan engagement, because there are a lot of other companies building, right? We were talking on WhatsApp the other day, one of the other platforms. How do you see that getting mainstream?
So we've pivoted a bit. What we've done is I'll come to as to how I see the space evolving later. But we've pivoted in the sense that we've decided that we've perfected the technological pieces excellently. Yeah. So we are packaging, for instance, the AI piece. We're packaging, for instance, the fan engagement piece, which is a combination of the community-led networks and the content monetization and the AI. So that we're packaging it as protocols that other projects could use. Yeah. We are packaging the AI AR piece as an SDK that any project could use, whether it be Web 2 or Web 3. So I mean, we've been doing generative AI before generative AI became popular and famous. Although we are using what are called as um, GAN, generative adversarial networks, which is an earlier um, what should I say, earlier avatar of the current generative AI fundamentals.
Hmm.
So this is so our strategy now is that we will follow what we call as come for the tool, stay for the network. So
Hmm.
we'll build use cases around these tools. We'll get people in for using the tools, and then we'll build the entire network piece around the community building as part of extended use cases on the uses of these tools, protocols, SDKs that I'm talking about. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I think from now that is on as to how we are seeing our journey.
Nice. I think that's a good way, as long as you're able to sustain it and get people with value. I think it's a long way game, that, like you said, slow and steady winning the race.
So I think on the larger fan engagement side, I think it is a long haul proposition.
Yeah.
Look at it this way. I mean, Web three as an industry is emerging, Alec, right?
Yeah.
Look at
Absolutely.
it from a perspective of the Web two platform, which is super popular right now. Right?
Yeah.
Instagram was founded in 2010.
Yeah.
So it has taken Instagram, I think, 11 or 12 years
Hmm.
to get where it is.
Yeah.
And Instagram became super popular and because of Reels. And when
Yeah.
Reels is a post-COVID phenomenon, when TikTok was doing a lot of stuff around Reels, and Instagram said that, hey, listen, there is a gold mine to be had here.
Yes, I
Uh,
know everybody's doing, shorts, like YouTube doing shorts, Facebook, and obviously Instagram is the same. Go ahead.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look at it from a perspective of something such as WhatsApp, and you had this excellent example about people using Paytm. I
Yeah.
mean, when was WhatsApp founded? 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
For it to become the communication platform of choice has taken it such a long period of time, um, which is for a technology piece that was fairly mature.
Yeah.
Now on the Web3 side, the technological pieces are evolving, and I'm talking from the infra side.
Hmm.
Um, the permissionless, trustlessness, and provenance that are provided by chains are evolving as well.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, the, the chain with the largest transactions is Ethereum.
Yeah.
And then how many transactions could Ethereum do by itself without having roll-ups or layer twos, right?
Exactly.
Not too much. So I'm paraphrasing all these examples to buttress my point that this is going to take some time. I think the mechanisms that will happen will basically be the same as what happened in Web 2. It's just that in this case, people are creating reels on Web 2 platforms and not
Yeah.
earning anything as part of their reel creation unless they become influencers. Yeah.
Yes.
The same method of creating reels over a period of time as the infrastructure evolves and people who are not just Web3 natives, but are I mean, how many Web3 natives create Reels? What is the
Oh,
Web3 penetration? Yeah,
exactly. It's quite low, and I'll give you a couple of points here as well. Just to support your point. You're fantastic. You're right. Like how many transactions can Ethereum do on layer? I mean, on its own. Without layer twos, and now we're talking about layer threes. And now people are talking, do we really need layer threes and stuff like that, right? So I hosted few of my episodes of my podcast on a true, how do I say it, a Web3 native platform called Excalibur.fm, right? It's built on Solana and stuff like that. But it was a challenge to do it then. I mean, You're pretty correct. We are on the early stages of the journey. It's the same as the earlier 2000 when Facebook, all these platforms were building, taking shape, right? Especially in India, from a content point of view, before Facebook, there was something called as Orkut. I'm not sure how many will remember, but you and I are from the generation who would have used it or probably have seen it, but it disappeared, right? So I think that journey is obviously long, but and I really want that people who are building now to have actual product market fit soon, so that they can survive the bearish times and actually reap the benefits, right? Because this is where cash flows and all those other things comes into the picture, right?
It's a long haul. I
It's a
mean,
long.
user adoption is is a necessary and sufficient condition
Yes.
for an industry becoming mainstream.
Yeah.
And the user adoption here is not just Web3 natives; it has to be from the hoi polloi, population scale. Yeah.
Yes.
So in which case the technology needs to become easier, the use cases need to become easier, and more understandable at the click of a button. Very, very simple, because all of us are used to using
Yes.
Web2 platforms which are very, very simple, etc. to use.
Yes.
Yeah. Till then, I think till we get there, we will still be feeding the Web3 adoption from a combination of airdrops, um, marketing and communication platforms, etc., which might give you initial adoption per se, but then from a perspective of long haul perennial adoption, not really. Yeah. Um,
Exactly. Exactly. I think that's a nice way of looking at it, and I'm really happy that like especially knowing you and meeting you, that your head space and your like is at the right space, at the right piece, looking at the right direction, and and obviously we're coming to the end now, and I want to wish you all the best. Just before you leave, like your you know quick rapid fire thoughts on these questions, like where do you see Web3 with inflection point of AI going in the next, say, maybe 6 months to 1 year to 5 years?
So we'll have to decipher the AI use cases. I think the AI use cases, as far as Web3 is concerned, will be more on the blockchain side, not
Mm.
so much on the Web3 side, and
Mm-hmm.
they will more be related on provenance of models, provenance of data, to say that nothing inimical is happening on whatever AI is giving as a result.
Fantastic. Cool, Ritesh. Thank you so much for coming in. And any last words for the audience, who are listening to you, and few of them also messaged, right?
Yeah,
Any
so
last words?
essentially, I mean, Web3, crypto, blockchain are very, very symbiotic.
Yeah.
It is human nature per se to be able to be attracted to something that is new. I think
Yes.
Web3 will evolve over a period of time. The possibilities are immense.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot more money to be made by people like you and me, not just from the airdrops, by the sheer fundamentals of Web3. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, so imagine if you are an Instagram influencer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know as to what the take rates of Instagram are,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure they take most of what is made. Yeah.
Yeah.
The best take rates are YouTube's,
Yes.
as in what they give back to the content creators. So now imagine that uh, what the platform is making, a majority of it, the influencer himself or herself is making. I mean, that those possibilities are immense. Yeah,
Oh yes,
and
absolutely,
it's not
absolutely.
not just a question of airdrops and token drops and meme coins, etc. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
That is what will bring the actual monetization, because essentially, the world runs on money. You like it or not, right? We have to go there. But cool. Thank you so much, Ritesh. On that note, I think it's a fantastic point to end on. Thank you so much, viewers, for joining in, and yeah, we will see you on the other side on another episode soon. Watch out for the space.
cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me over. Thanks for everybody for listening in.
Yeah.
God bless. Take care. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.